In a world hurtling towards technological supremacy, the demand for superpowered individuals dwindles. Jobs once held by powers are now efficiently executed by machines and robots. The government reacts by passing a law, compelling all powers to register their extraordinary abilities. They become the linchpin of the economy, instrumental in constructing the futuristic haven, Lincoln City, touted as the City of Tomorrow. In 1990, a menacing crime syndicate called the Trust floods the streets with psych, an addictive drug crafted from the spinal fluid of desperate or trafficked powers. To counter power-related crimes, police departments deploy advanced drones, the Guardians, and facial recognition software. Meanwhile, the city grapples with the debate over a citywide powers ban. The story unfolds against the backdrop of a city torn between progress and the dark shadows of its own creations. Connor Reed, a 26-year-old Class 5 electric, wakes his tired mother, Mary, from her slumber on the sofa. Has brain cancer that causes her abilities to sometimes act erratically. As Connor prepares breakfast, Mary goes to the bathroom to freshen up. Her hands, covered in dark lesions, hurt as she washed them. Connor checks the mail. Every envelope is an overdue bill. Mother and son discuss Connor's upcoming interview. Mary playfully recreates an interview scene. Meanwhile, Connor is concerned about his mother's health. He notes that the lesions on her hands are getting worse. Mary tells him they are fine. Connor goes to his interview. Afterwards, he heads to a building site hoping to get some cash for doing a bit of labor. Connor makes ends meet by working as an unregistered day laborer alongside many other powers, using his abilities to install electrical wiring without protection. Joe, the foreman, offers him half a day's pay because he missed the first hour. Connor needs the money, so is forced to take the work. As the workforce diligently constructs, an unexpected visit from the police disrupts the routine. The officers demand the workforce to look up for inspection by a hovering drone. In the scrutiny, one worker, unregistered in the system, attempts to flee after the police apprehend him. In a chilling turn of events, as he runs, two robot policemen descend from the drone, shooting him dead. In a different corner of the city, Detectives Park and Davis conduct a drug raid on an apartment complex owned by Marcus Sutcliffe, the local agent of the Trust and a telepathic reader. The apartment raid unveils a chilling scene. A room filled with superpowered individuals hooked up to drips, their spinal fluid being siphoned. In the aftermath, the police swiftly put out a press release, shedding light on their ongoing battle against the psych problem. They share footage of the drug haul being confiscated and destined for destruction. Connor arrives at his mother's workplace to find Mary dealing with the aftermath of a broken sauce jar. However, to their surprise, the spilled sauce is frozen. Dave, Mary's manager, warns her not to let such incidents occur again and explicitly references Mary's unique power. Angry with Dave's disrespectful tone, Connor expresses his discontent. However, Dave remains indifferent, fully aware that Mary avoids causing any trouble for herself and her son, considering their superpowers. Despite this, Mary ends up losing her job. Mary expresses discontent over Connor revealing his superpowers to Dave. In response, Connor defends himself, noting that Mary hasn't exactly concealed her own powers. Her ability to freeze things has slipped from her control due to health issues. The following day, Connor waits among a group of laborers, all hoping for work. A van arrives, and Connor inquires with Travis about them. Travis reveals they are part of Sutcliffe's trafficking crew. The van stops, and Garrett, leaning out, asks if any of them are at least an electrical level 2. The laborers remain silent. Garrett suggests no one wants to get paid. Taking a bold step, Connor requests an advance payment of $200, and despite reluctance, Garrett agrees. Despite warnings from Travis, Reed decides to go with them. Garrett, accompanied by Maddie, a woman with the ability to generate extreme heat through her hands, and Freddy, possessing super strength, gather in the van. Garrett, a telekinetic, leads them to a storage facility. Recognizing the electrified fence, Garrett calls on Connor to cut through it, cautioning about the formidable voltage of 10,000. Connor's initial attempt disappoints, but he swiftly shifts tactics to cut the power in an alternative way. At this moment, Garrett realizes Connor's electrical level exceeds his earlier claim. Inside, they seize 6 barrels of the chemical crucial for psych production. A security guard attempts to intervene, only to find himself confined to a dumpster by the crew. As they make their escape, the police are alerted to the break-in and on the lookout for the distinctive van. At the right moment, in a bid to avoid detection, the crew removes the red cover of the van, causing its color to shift to white. However, at a crucial moment, the drone detects them and swiftly recognizes that the van's color contradicts the given specifications. In a club bar where Sutcliffe hangs out, Sutcliffe is having a nervous meeting with Cumbo. He owes Cumbo money. Cumbo, knowing that Sutcliffe reads minds, tells him to look into the eyes of his associate, Copperhead. Sutcliffe looks into her eyes. He tells Cumbo that she is thinking of the various ways she can cut his throat. Cumbo tells him he has a week to come up with the money. The crew enters the club, guided by Rhino, Sutcliffe's bodyguard. As Sutcliffe locks eyes with Connor, he delves into Connor's thoughts, discerning the simmering anger within him. Then he tells Nia to show him around. In a meeting with Sutcliffe, Sutcliffe asks about Connor, and Garrett tells him that the boy is more powerful than he realizes but needs to be honed. Sutcliffe begins coughing, prompting Rhino to seek Nia's assistance. Garrett, meanwhile, escorts Connor back to the initial pickup point and overpays him for the night's work, hinting at more opportunities. Connor seems reluctant. Upon returning home, he is told by his mother that she went and got her job back at the store. Connor expresses his disapproval of his mother working at the store. Mary, in response, reminds him of their need for the job and emphasizes that she feels she has no other choice in the matter. In the club, Nia goes to see Sutcliffe. He is enjoying the company of two girls, but upon spotting Nia, he immediately instructs the others to leave. Nia is hooked on psych, and Sutcliffe has a request from him in exchange for the drug. The next day, Park and Davis arrive on the scene. Despite a lack of evidence and camera footage, Park is convinced that the theft is linked to psychs. Understanding the rarity of individuals with the power to execute such a theft, Park asks Davis to assist in identifying them, aware that only a select few possess the necessary electrical prowess. On the other hand, Connor finds himself waiting for work again. Before long, Joe arrives, and all the workers eagerly gather around the truck. Garrett arrives. In a sudden change, Connor decides to go with Garrett. In a cafe, Garrett inquires why Connor accepted his job offer, and Connor responds that he needs the money. However, under Garrett's persistent questioning, Connor finally discloses that his mother is sick. After a few moments, Garrett instructs Connor to leave. Fueled by frustration, Garrett delivers a punch to the hood of a red GMC, triggering the car's alarm. Emphasizing the importance of the car, Garrett asserts that they need it and tasks Connor with disabling the alarm. Confused, Connor mentions they were supposed to work, but Garrett calmly confirms that they are indeed working, preparing for a bank heist in 3 days. He instructs Connor to listen carefully and silence the alarm. But Connor changes his tone and asks Garrett about his share of the bank job. Garrett responds, $25,000. With the alarm off, they get into the car. As they ride in a stolen car, Garrett, recognizing Connor's untapped potential and driven by a shared goal, decides to help him. He recruits Connor, agreeing to assist him in earning enough money for his mother's treatment. Garrett initiates Connor into his crew, providing training on how to harness his abilities and involving him as an enforcer in the psych trade. In the course of their activities, they visit Mikey, who owes Garrett money. Mikey reveals that the Trust, the entity controlling the psych trade, claims that both Sutcliffe and Garrett are finished, and he is taking over. Connor confronts Mikey, revealing his electric abilities. Mikey, attempting to defend himself, zaps Connor, but Connor, more powerful, retaliates, putting Mikey down. After the encounter, Garrett advises Connor to embrace his true identity and not conceal his abilities. Connor, following Garrett's counsel, visits Dave, the manager at his mother's workplace, and threatens him. With continued training, Connor's control over his powers improves significantly, marking a pivotal moment in his journey with Garrett. At home, as Mary washes her hands, pain evident on her face, Connor, overwhelmed with guilt, lies to his mother, claiming he landed the job he interviewed for. Mary, blissfully unaware, expresses joy, believing that their troubles are coming to an end. Shortly afterward, Connor takes out the trash, oblivious to the fact that officers Park and Davis are observing him, gathering information. Unbeknownst to Connor, he is now under thorough surveillance. Garrett and Connor embark on a reconnaissance mission to assess a bank they intend to target. Drawing from his observations, Connor provides the crew with details about the bank's security systems and cameras. The team conducts a thorough survey of the premises, taking note of crucial information. The crew enters the bank, and each member uses their powers to disarm the guards with precision. Garrett issues a stern warning, emphasizing the potentially fatal consequences of any disobedience. As Garrett approaches the bank teller, Connor focuses his abilities on disabling the initial layer of the safe's protection. The first step is successfully executed, triggering the bank alarms. In the midst of the heist, Garrett compels the bank teller, Emily, to open the safe, coinciding with the initiation of a bank robbery report to the police. Emily faces difficulty in the first attempt, prompting Garrett to apply mental pressure. However, Connor intervenes, advising Emily to take a deep breath and concentrate in a soothing manner. In the second attempt, Emily successfully opens the safe. To their dismay, the vault is empty, and Garrett confronts Emily, angered that there was supposed to be $500,000 in the treasury. Emily explains that the treasury was emptied earlier that day at 4 o'clock. As the confirmed bank robbery report prompts the drones to approach, Connor collects money from the safe. Garrett orders a swift exit from the bank through the back door. However, a drone positions itself above them, commanding them to lie on the ground with hands behind their heads. Connor swiftly sends a remote electric wave toward the drone, successfully destroying it just before the guard robots land, averting their capture. The crew immediately goes to the bar, and Garrett heads to see Sutcliffe. He informs him that the information was not accurate. The vault only contained $50,000. As they argue, a young man at the bar looks around. He gets up, and his face changes. It is Copperhead. Copperhead attempts to kill Sutcliffe, but Rhino stands between her and Sutcliffe, taking the shots. Copperhead then turns her attention to Nia, but Connor blasts the gun out of her hand. She turns to him and pulls a knife, slicing his forearm. Suddenly, Copperhead is shot and falls to the ground. To Connor's surprise, he sees Sutcliffe's bodyguard Rhino, a brawn with bulletproof skin. As Copperhead lies on the floor, Rhino shoots her in the head to ensure she is dead. In another corner, within the bar's kitchen, while Nia is indulging Psyche, Connor enters. They engage in a brief conversation, during which Nia reveals that facing a gun is not a novel experience for her. Noticing Connor's forearm wound, Nia places her hand on it. In a matter of seconds, the wound vanishes, leaving Connor astonished to discover Nia's healing abilities. Nia emphasizes that her healing ability is the reason everyone desires her. Connor had always assumed that Nia was one of Sutcliffe's daughters. He inquires if she's there for Psyche, to which Nia discloses that she is repaying a debt to Sutcliffe. At that moment, Rhino arrives, summoned by Sutcliffe. That night, right after returning home, Mary calls Connor into the room upon discovering the hidden money. When questioned about the source of the substantial amount, Connor initially claims it's from working overtime. However, Mary, angered by what she perceives as a lie, implores him not to deceive her. In a poignant moment, Mary's health deteriorates, and as the glass of water in her hands begins to freeze, it slips from her grasp, shattering on the table. In Connor's arms, Mary loses consciousness. In the hospital, the doctor delivers grave news to Connor about his mother's deteriorating condition, revealing significant growth in the brain tumor. Exiting the hospital, Connor finds himself in the crosshairs of Park and Davis, who bring him in for questioning. The detectives, eager for cooperation, hint at planting evidence to manipulate Connor into providing information. Davis leans towards this coercive approach, emphasizing the need to exploit Connor's vulnerability amid their crackdown on Psyche. In contrast, Park remains steadfast in considering the lack of concrete evidence, advocating for Connor's release. Post-interrogation, Garrett picks Connor up and escorts him. The pressing need for a new job to finance his mother's surgery becomes a pivotal point in their conversation. At the meeting with Sutcliffe, in a tense encounter, Sutcliffe scrutinizes Connor's eyes and declares to Garrett that he hasn't divulged any information to the authorities. Garrett comes up with a plan to steal the Psyche worth $10 million that the LCPD plans to burn before its destruction. Connor puts forth their demand during the negotiation. They want Nia in return. His thoughts revolve around the possibility of saving his mother by enlisting Nia's healing abilities. In a surprising twist, Garrett makes an unexpected request to Sutcliffe, a 50-50 partnership. In a poignant moment, Sutcliffe reminisces about the state in which he discovered Garrett, emphasizing that Garrett owes his current success to Sutcliffe's assistance. Garrett expresses gratitude, and ultimately, Sutcliffe agrees. Connor and Garrett start surveying the area meticulously, examining every detail on the map, including drones, police presence, cameras, and any potential factors that could jeopardize the operation. However, Connor has a condition.
Get out. We don't kill anymore. It's different this time. Doesn't matter.
As all this unfolds, Connor assures Nia that he will set her free once she heals his mother. On the day of the heist, the crew blocks the truck inside a no-fly zone, preventing drone backup that carries Guardians. Connor shorts out the truck's electronics, successfully destroying the Guardians. Maddie hands the psych over to Rhino. However, before Garrett and Connor can flee, Sutcliffe's men kill the cops guarding the truck, turning on the crew. This results in Maddie's death and Freddy being critically wounded. As Rhino takes off with the narcotics, the drone pilot defies the no-fly zone, dropping more Guardians and killing the remaining members of Sutcliffe's squad. Freddy dies as Connor and Garrett drive away. After Connor reveals to Garrett that Sutcliffe betrayed them due to Garrett's demands, they decide to split up. When Nia tries to leave Sutcliffe, he reminds her that her father still owes him a significant amount of money. He suggests that the easiest way to get out of the debt is to have him assassinated in jail. Milltown, the captain, discusses the most recent heist and the recent wave of robberies at the police station with Davis and Park. Park acknowledges that they detained Connor but released him, expressing disbelief in his potential for murder. Connor visits his mother, promising to assist her. She informs him that she has accepted her fate and that he must let her go. Park visits his TK Power daughter, who is struggling to control her powers and fears being exposed. Travis offers him a message as they stroll outside together. Later, Park and Connor meet at a cafe, where Park is given the address of Sutcliffe's operation by Connor. When they storm the area, Sutcliffe flees with Nia and Rhino, prompting Connor and Garrett to follow him for retribution. Garrett catches up with Sutcliffe and shoots him. Rhino defends Sutcliffe, going after Garrett. Connor hits Rhino with an electrical blast, but he persists, attacking both men. Garrett stabs Rhino in the eye with a metal shaft, and Connor delivers a fatal electrical bolt through it, ultimately killing him. Garrett kills Sutcliffe by strangulation, seizing the psych for himself. Subsequently, he pressures Connor into compelling Nia to heal his mother against her will. Nia pleads with Connor to release her because, aside from healing others, her powers force her to bear the wounds or illnesses herself. At gunpoint, Connor drives Nia to the hospital. Realizing the difficulty Nia faces, he eventually orders her to stop. Mary awakens and is visibly still succumbing to her ailment. She passes away while Connor holds her hand, and before her death, Connor bids his mother a heartfelt goodbye. The LCPD discovers Sutcliffe's body. After dropping Nia off at the police station, Connor goes to the city and gives her his truck. Choosing to turn himself in as an attempt to atone for his transgressions, Connor faces a city where superpowers have been outlawed. Park and Davis receive commendation for their drug-related operation, with Park reluctantly accepting an award. Garrett hands Cumbo the psych and assumes control of the Trust's narcotics trade in Lincoln City. Before serving his sentence, Connor pays a visit to his mother's grave, and Nia makes a heartfelt visit to her father in prison, settling the debt she was clearing with Sutcliffe.